lesson number 5, fiery furnace. Colin had the last 2 lessons, and we got up to the point in chapter 3, verses number 13. And when he ended last week, he was talking about when, the king had made the great golden statue of himself, and how that Belshazzar and his other 2 padres had been gave him position in the king's council and everything, and over a lot of things. And then and after the statue had been built, the king made a decree that when they played out all kind of different music and harps and all this kind of stuff here, that everyone would bow down and worship the statue. Of course, he had a guy that did this stuff for him, a speaker, and they noticed at the time that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not do it, which some of his council members did out to get them anyway. So they ran to the king and told the king, well, they didn't bow down, they didn't worship they don't serve your God, they didn't worship the statue as you had made a decree. So, and the king really, Nebuchadnezzar, he had compassion on Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He knew what was trying to be done, and he didn't want to do. Sometimes, you done made a decree or whatever, and back then they followed the Medes and Persians, it didn't supposed to be changed, they ruled. And so, I'm going to just pick up in your Bibles, if you have your Bible, verses number 10. It says, Daniel chapter 3, Thy king hath made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flutes, and harp, sackbut, and the potteries, and the whatever that, I can't pronounce the word.
Symphony?
The D word, D-U-L, well, I'm reading out the Bible. Dulcery, okay. And all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worship, that should be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy God, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So, here you go. They know that Shadrach and Meshach and all of them have been put over stuff, and they were jealous. And they said, well, these men that you put over, these Jews that you put over, they didn't bow down, they didn't worship the God, and when the music started, and so here you go. They trying to get them in trouble. Okay? And verse 13, I'm going to be in the study guide now. Then Nebuchadnezzar, enraged and fury, gave the commandment to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. So once they told him what was going on, he wanted them to bring them before him so he could see them face to face. And he's going to ask them himself why they weren't doing this, why they did not fall down and worship the golden statue and all that stuff. So if someone would you take verses 14 and 15?
Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? Now if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands?
Okay. Back up to 14. So Nebuchadnezzar spoke to the men. Is it true that you did not do this, fall down and worship? And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that thou serve my God and worship the golden image I have set up. So they gonna give him an answer. Before then, he asked them, is it true? So in a sense, he wanted to hear from them instead of just the other councilmen that had brought the accusation. So verses 15, he giving them a chance. Said, okay, I play the music and stuff again. Are you ready to bow down and worship? You know, it's sometimes you do things you don't want to do it, but you got to do it. You know, in a sense, you got to force the issue because people won't do it. And here, he was keeping he had made a decree. And so he had to keep it. So he told Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, now, in verse 15, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, luters, and psalteries, and symphonies, ye with all kinds of music you shall fall down and worship the image which I have made good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of the burning fire, fierce fire. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hand? So now you got a chance to fall down when I give them the instruction to play the music and worship the golden image. And if you don't, who gonna deliver you from my hand? We're verses number 15 right now. Who gonna deliver you out of my hand? Those strong words Nebuchadnezzar making mention, and it's just some things he had just experienced with Daniel, which Belshazzar probably, I'm going to say it was a time frame. We don't know exactly how long, because I know you're going to build a statue 90 feet tall. It's going to take a time to build it. You know, you just don't do it overnight. You know, so it don't say the time period, but Daniel had already told him what his dream was about. And he knew that there had to be the God that revealed it was not his God, not the God that they were worshiping and everything. They knew there had to be a true God. So, but here,
Nebuchadnezzar knew that his gods that he worshiped couldn't deliver these men. He just, you know, like, my gods can't do it, so you got a God that can do this?
mm-hmm.
And he knew that his gods could not deliver these men out of the fiery furnace.
Well, it's into chapter, what? It's into chapter 2, somewhere around verse 45, 46. That's when the king Nebuchadnezzar fell down on his face and said, "Truly your God is." And then,
True God. Yeah.
yeah, and then here we got, you know, whatever the time period is later, all of a sudden, you know,
Right.
like you said, king's got the big head, or he's saying, what can he uses a little g? Whose God can deliver you from me?
Right. But you know, sometimes, you know, a person in a position like this have a lot of authority, in which they did back then. And I'm glad now that our presidents and stuff can't operate the way that those kings used to operate back then. I'm so glad. You know, it take the congressmen, senators, and all these, they had to pass these bills and vote on them and stuff like that. Because if they could do what they wanted to do, Lord, we would be in trouble. We would sure enough be in trouble. You know, it's already bad enough, but we'll sure enough be in trouble. But anyway, verse 16. We're talking about the God before we get there. Now, he wanted to know, and who is the God that will deliver you from my hand? You know, we just said, he just, a period ago, the same God that Daniel, which was Belshazzar, he fell down and praised him for telling him the dream, because he didn't know his God didn't do it, because he already stated a couple of chapters before that his God, with his soothsayers and all these astrologists were no good. He said that. So they ain't did nothing but try to trickery and use stuff before. But you still holding on to these people. You know that they ain't no good. You know, it make me think about sometimes how the world is, whether the churches and stuff like that. They'll get with you, and I know a lot of people, they'll talk about what's going on in the congregation and stuff, but they still don't want to let that go. And they see it. This is plain, but they still, this one I want to go and this one I want to do. But verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer in this matter. So, they already know the true God. And they know that they God can deliver them if he will and if he wanted to. See, that's another thing. As they get on down, they're going to make that mention. But they know God, the real God, can do anything. Any question or comments?
You know, that was something for everybody to hear them say to him, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like, we don't have to answer you. Mm-hmm. They told that to the king.
Yep.
And the king gets to see through their actions God at work again.
Mm-hmm.
God shows them like they are sinners. So there's purpose too.
Right. Okay. Will someone take 17?
If that is the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. So, pretty much he answered him right there. So, he can do this. Is that the case? The God we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and will deliver us from your hand, O king. And so, that was him saying, we don't have to tell you, we're going to show you.
Right. Just listen, watch. You know, and God, let God have his course, whatever, you know, he's going to do. 18, but if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your God, nor will we worship the God image, the golden image, which ye have set up. We don't serve your God. We not going to worship the golden image that you set up. Point blank. No, we're not going to do it, King. And boy, that made him boiling mad.
They said if not, so like even if our God doesn't save us, go ahead and burn us.
That's right. You know, and that's a strong conviction. You know that, you know your God can, but if he will or he will not, we still not going to do it. We not going to fall down and worship your God. We still not going to do it. So they know that God was able to save them. They already knew that. But, you know, at this time, they didn't know whether God going to use them to show what he did. You know, whether what was going to happen. But, you know, you don't, at times, you know, you be in a situation, but God always going to work things out for those who love him. It might not turn out the way you want it to turn out, but he always going to work things out to be for his love and kindness, so people can see that there is a true God and he's the one that you need to serve.
You know what? I think that everybody needs to take lessons from this.
Mm-hmm.
He's asking them to just, I mean, they give them this so easy to just, okay, we'll bow down. You know, and God, listen, no, we're going to do what God wants us to do. If you kill us, so what? We're going to do it. And there's so many people nowadays that, well, I believe, but I don't want to alienate my friends. So I'm not going to act this way. I'm not going to act the way God would want me to, so I don't lose my friends. They're willing to die for it, and there's so many people now that they're not even willing to lose a friend. over.
And here,
Look at all these.
yeah, and also, they know that if they did that they're gonna go to heaven. You know, I tell people right now, I got a friend of mine here told me, he said, I ain't ready to go yet. I want a few more years. I said, if I could die and go to heaven right now, I'm ready. I go. I ain't worried about nothing else. You know, well, I want to see my grandkids get up and do this, and I want to do this, and I want a few more years. I said, if I can die right now and go to heaven, let me go. And that's the way I feel. I'm not worried about what's going on down here. If I could go to heaven, I'm ready. And I know I can if I live right and continue to do right. But what I'm saying, at this point in time, if I could just leave here and go on to heaven, I'm ready. Any other question or comment? I'm not worried about these cares. I'm not worried about possessions or whatever is left. Let them all go. Go. But okay. Verse 19, I think that's where we at. Would someone take 19 to 20, please?
Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his business was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it was wont to be heated. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace.
Okay. So he got real mad once they had stated what they said. And he charged them to heat it up, turn it up. You know, they rebelling against me, they rejected me. That's what it was. They rejected me. Turn it up, heat it up, 7 times hotter than it would normally be. And and it goes on. He had the mighty men, he had mans of valor, which it says here in the army, and they bound Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and got them ready to cast them into the fire. So he was real feared. And to me, I guess to keep them from getting away, you're gonna bound them all up so they can't I guess run or roll. You'll tighten them up. I guess. I don't know how it was, but he said even, reading it out of the Bible, it said even their coats and stuff, they bound them in, whatever. But he wanted to make sure, I guess, if they did get in there, they can't run around once to, get in the fire front,
They can't do anything but burn.
Just lay there or whatever. They won't be able to, try to run around and get away. Any other questions or comments?
Kind of shows his anger.
Mm-hmm.
You got a furnace that's hot enough to melt gold. No, that's not hot enough. Let's make it 17 times hotter now.
Mm-hmm.
He's mad.
That's what I was thinking, so physical things are only meant to do so much. It's like, you're supposed to put, I don't know if you got angry or something, but a tire's supposed to have, 40 pounds of air in it. So like, I'm put 7 times, well, what's going to happen? Boom, bad things. I mean, he's like, there's not even words for how mad he is, right? He's like, just burn it all down, make it 7 times that. I mean, yeah.
Now normally when
Physics changed, he got hot.
Normally when you get exceedingly mad, what normally happens? You do something wrong.
Uh-huh.
And so, and doing this, which in the next few verses, they're going to say what happened to the guys. Okay, well, someone take 31.
20?
21, okay, 21, yeah, 21.
And these men were bound in their coat and their trap, their shirt, and their other garment, and was cast into the midst of the garment.
Okay, so he bound them. Now, it must have been sort of cool at the time because they had on coats and this stuff. So, on this.
That or he was making sure there was plenty of fuel for that fire.
Well, that could have been too. But I'm going to say it probably was sort of cool they had on coats. But anyway, yeah, and then he goes on 22. Therefore, because the king commanded was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flames of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So it was so hot, the guys that threw them over in there, it killed them. So that was hot. You know, I experienced one thing in my life. You know, my dad, I'm gonna tell you, when something was on his mind, he just said what was on his mind. And I remember a long time ago when I was about 14, 15 years old, probably 13, but one of our neighbor's house had caught a fire, and he got us out of bed, come on, all of us went over there to try to help put the fire out. It was, I think 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And the whole neighborhood, you know, just gathered, was trying to put it out. And this one guy, the guy that lived there, his family was in the house, but they had gotten out. And I don't know where he was, but anyway, he come in there about 1:30, flying in his car, and jumped out the car, left the car running, and it ran in the ditch, and the house was engulfed in flame. And the guy was trying to hold it. He just, oh, my wife, my children, my wife, my children. And they were saying, everybody trying, they are not in the house. You know, they was out of the house. It's safety. They was next door and everything. And he kept on. He just rattling and tussling. And my dad, I'm not going to say what he said. He said, turn him a loose. So he's not going up in that house. The house was flame. I'm saying, fire gushing out the windows and doors. It got so bad. And he ran up to that house, I want to say about 20 feet. And he turned around. He came back. So when it's hot, it's hot. So, and he didn't go in that house. And they, you know, he want to fight everybody. They trying to hold him and tell him, so, well, your family's not in there. Everybody's out. He jumped out, man. He just ripping and raving there to turn his so-and-so loose. He ain't going up in there. But anyway, it's a long story, but something that hot, you're not going to go up in there. If it's hot enough to kill the people, to throwing people in there, you can imagine you standing close and you can catch on fire. You know, you can imagine what that heat was. Now, I'm talking, we are standing back because we did all we could to help the whole neighborhood, try to help put the fire out. But it just got so hot, and by the time the fire department got there, they just said we might well let it burn because they couldn't save it. And they did. They just let the house go. But anyway, and we're standing back probably 100 feet, and you could just feel the heat. You know, and it's popping. And, you know, any of y'all ever been around a hot fire like that? And it was just too hot. But we standing back 100 feet, and you just feel the heat off the house. But those guys got killed that throw them in there because the fire was so hot. So you can imagine how the heat was, and the king, how his fear, he wanted to see someone else get hurt, and he hurt his own people, you know. And so when people get out of control or furious and mad, a lot of times they lose control of themselves, and they can do some crazy things. Okay, next verse, where we at, 23 or 24? 23. 24? 23? Okay. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke and saying to his councils, did we not cast 3 men down into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, true, O king. Now, this would have been enough for me, which, you know, at the end he did. The king, they standing there looking at it, or up high looking however they were. We put 3 men in there. He asked his councilman, did we not put 3? But the next verse, someone take that one.
Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire. They are not hurt, and the arm of the foe is like the Son of God.
Now, I wonder how he know that. You know, you read this stuff, and he knew how to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were. But how you gonna know what the scripture says, Son of Man, if you read in the King James Version? Which Jesus is son of God, but what it just worded a little different. That's what the King James version. Danny, you get that? Isn't that what it say?
Mine says something that.
Son of God. Okay. But anyway, he knew something was special, something was different. You're gonna look down in there, and to me, how would he be able to acknowledge the Son of God if you don't know it? You know, I always wonder about that, reading and stuff. And you know, on other occasions, people say they like the Son of God, you know, something, you know, and how would they just know that? You know, I get God might reveal it to them. I was always amazed by that. I wondered. And I wonder now. Okay, brother.
Well, he did challenge them. He said, if let your God save you now. So that's what he did. So when he cast on the three in there, and he saw them logic tell you that they're not going to live, but if they're living, what's causing them to live?
Mm-hmm.
And you see a fourth being there, and they are all four walking. So what are you saying? He is their protector.
Mm-hmm. They walk around in there. They ain't running. They ain't jumping. You know, they walking around.
They're not bound.
And that's right. You know, they've been loose and everything. That's amazing. Yeah. And so, and I guess, you know, if any of us was in the same predicament or whatever, we would think the same thing. 26, Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, serving of the Most High God. So he had to know something.
But they believe in so many gods. It's just your God saved you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if something happened here and we had a multiracial group of people, everybody's going to believe their God. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying they believe in so many gods. It's your God.
Mm-hmm.
But he did say most.
He said, Most High God.
That means yours saved you over all ours because ours couldn't do it.
Well, pretty much, if we get on the lesson, it's going to
Yeah,
get out. Go ahead.
it does. I'm just saying that they were
Yeah.
ignorant too.
Mm-hmm.
And they were ignorant to even do some of the things that they did.
Right. But you know, there go again, Miss Hickman. A lot of times people do things out of ignorance because they don't really know and they don't really understand. We see it all the time. Even sometimes we do stuff out of ignorance. You know, sometimes I let ignorance get on me. You know better. You unknowing way. You know, sometimes you just not think and do things and stuff sometimes. So, but basically, a lot of things are done out of ignorance. A lot of time. Okay? They serve the Most High God. Come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. So they walked out. So they were able to walk out. He said, come here. And they came out.
Because he couldn't go get them.
Well, it do make sense. I don't know at this time with the fire still 7 times hot, or whether it cool down a little bit, but we know when they put them in there, it was like that. And so that is something to think about.
King didn't even, well, at least you don't hear about the king getting upset about his servants that got killed either.
No, care less. But we going to see at the end if we get there. How much time we got? Anybody know?
10:02. It's 10:02.
Okay. We got about 5 more minutes. Okay. Okay, someone take, what we start? 27? 27, 29, 28.
And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who set his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's words and yielded their bodies that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God.
Okay, so he called all those councilmen and all those things, all those others together, and they could see that the fire didn't have no effect on them. They didn't even smell like, when some burnt clothes or anything, they didn't even smell like that. None of their clothes were burnt or anything. And how could this be even 7 times hotter? And then the men who threw them in there got burnt, and killed. So he had to acknowledge that God had to be supreme and control. But he always said, their God. Which he still didn't want to just let go their God. In which their God was the real God and the true God. So, but at least he acknowledged that, hey man, but that's the same thing he did with Belshazzar, Daniel, when he revealed the dream. He said that, in a sense, but how could you still don't want to let go?
He's on the fence.
Well, for one thing, they had so many gods, and he reasoned to himself probably, well, I'll just add this God to the ones that are fond of. So therefore, they didn't. He really didn't have that much respect in what God could actually do.
Mm-hmm. But you're right. They had God for everything: the air, water, earth, and sun. They had so many they worship. So, but yeah, but then it goes on, verse 29 tells about how God had blessed Shadrach. He said that, and who had sent his angels to deliver them. So, this the king said he had sent his angels to deliver them out of the fiery furnace. And that his servant who trusted him, and they have frustrated the king's word. So, he said, they frustrated my word. He said, what God can deliver you out of my hand? Their God can. So, at least he did acknowledge that he got frustrated, and their God did deliver them out of his hand. That's something you can look at, but he still ain't gonna let go all the way, Their God did that. And then yielded their bodies, and that they should not serve nor worship any other God except their God. So, bet nobody mess with them when they worship about their God. He gonna make a decree about this at the end, that leave them alone. You pretty much. You got leave them alone. Any question, comment?
We're talking about that they frustrated his word back then. If the king said something should be done, it was done.
Mm-hmm.
If it killed half the country, it got done.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, he's got 3 men, and this is what's going to happen. And it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And
So it had to be a shock to his mind.
Mm-hmm. And plus, back then, like you say, they would not dare go get the king's word. First, that meant you might get.
You did.
Yeah. Okay, verse 29. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speak against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut into pieces, and their house shall be made as ashes, ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. So, if no other God can deliver like this, common sense, this God should be the ultimate God in whom everyone should be worshiping.
But wasn't he impressed with them and God after they had interpreted his dreams in the last lesson.
Well, he was at that time for a little while.
But actually forgotten, I mean, he
Yeah.
had forgotten what he thought, I suspect.
Yeah. Well, you look at, I'm going to try to break it down, make it a little simple. You look at a person when they first obey the gospel. They on fire for a little while, and then sometimes it sort of ease down a little bit. That's why we're here today. Keep getting renewed. That's why we keep getting teaching and taught things, because people will forget, and they are sort of stray away if they don't keep hearing the word and where to keep getting renewed and everything. That just, I guess, man nature. Yeah, but he did acknowledge that when he told him the dream and everything. And Shadrach and Meshach was along there with Belshazzar, which is Daniel. You know, because they communed together and prayed, and hey, look, they talking about killing us. we need to do something. They're going to kill us along with the rest of them. So, hey, okay, verse 30. The king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So, gave them again, promoted them. So, and as we go on to the next lesson, which will be next week, we're going to see some things that happen. But if God with you, who can be against you? You know, the final thing, you know, you can try, but you're going to lose.